but he came today and oh my goodness, very first time ever teaching. Tomorrow is the start of my literacy edTPA lessons, and let me show you everything that I have. Should I put sentence frames or sentence starters? These are all the papers I got from training. How we can ask questions, help students make connections while reading. This is crazy. There's a whole lesson plan, like a weekly lesson plan of grouping the students and their levels and using the text and having a... Actually, it's not that crazy. But when you have to write it out like this, it feels crazy. You're not even listening, huh? Oh, and then she also shared something that I've never heard of before called the Daily 5. It's making your small groups work into stations. Reading, writing, computer, word work, and comprehension? Right, no? When I have my own classroom, that's something that I would use. The second one was small math groups, having students do number talks at the beginning of lessons. Like even these stuff so that students can manipulate visuals. So some people can look at it like that. Some people can look at it like 3 plus 2 plus 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1. There's some kids who will count it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're unable to process that this is 5. I'm allergic to your questions. I'm just kidding. I brought it up to my teacher. We were talking about how some students will read it as that, like count each one separately. I questioned and I asked her, oh, do you think students can't do this because they didn't have enough playtime? Let's say like when you're building Legos, right? If you have 5 Legos, you can build it anyway and you'll still know that you have 5. But I think like some students lack that while they're growing up. They don't have enough playtime to explore what they're learning.
The 5, 4 thing, those are the dots on the dice. That might be why.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be it too. But that still comes into play, right? Like you play with the dice. What else do you do with the dice when you're a kid? Not gamble.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Are they games like any like Monopoly or
so that's play. If you think of it like that, it's kind of sad. One small thing that I learned about like having a student read with another student, the best practice isn't to have them face each other to read, because that opens up the chance of them having conversations rather than academic conversations. So you're supposed to, if they're reading to each other or with each other, they're supposed to be sitting like side by side. Isn't that so interesting? Like it's so weird how those little changes affect how students learn. After lunch, we had a staff meeting with people from our school. I'm always so overwhelmed with what my credential program requires in terms of lesson planning and in terms of what's expected within a lesson. A lot of the things that are brought up during staff meetings are those requirements, like actually having a learning objective on the wall and addressing that throughout the lesson, and having a bunch of sentence frames to support students, and having academic vocabulary implemented and explicitly taught. My learning's not for nothing. I'm really excited to show them the claw too. I asked her today, oh, are you still thinking of doing table points? Because I got something. I should be good. I think I just need to make the chart so that they know the vocabulary and see it. But yeah, I think the rest of it is just doing it with them so that they can see how to actually divide into equal groups. This would be my very first time ever teaching division. So if there's any gaps
feel free to jump in.
Okay. It's not something that I'm great at teaching either.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I always have to go back over.
I did my division lesson today and it was extremely successful, except for some students who just didn't follow along as much, which is a consistent problem in my class. This was a chart that I made, but I covered all of this up and then I actually left the stickers on and these faces weren't drawn in yet, and I let the students draw in the face if they were participating, and it's so cute. That's always how I try to get them engaged, is if they try to have fun with it some way or another, even if like that drawing's not academic, but at least it made them pay attention. This was an activity that they got to do after they demonstrated that they were able to understand it. So I actually made this off Canvas and I got the idea off of another website. I changed it up a little because I made them write a model and write the quotient. And what they do is they'll roll the dice. So 4 goes here, 5 divided by 2. So 45 divided by 2, and then they'll draw a model and then figure out how many 10s there are, 1s there are, remainders, write it in that form. The students really liked the dice activity. Something I was initially worried about was if the students were just going to mess around with the dice, but a lot of them actually followed the rules and they threw the dice the number of times that it was meant for. There was really only one student who I had to take it away from because he just rolled the dice, wrote down his numbers, but didn't do anything with those numbers. A lot of them were also asking if they can continue it after recess. I think the only flaw to it, besides risking the students who would just mess around with it, was that it's so hard to tell who's actually struggling because everyone's answers and questions were different. So I was going over here helping one. I was going over here helping one. Since the students are coming back from Thanksgiving break, there are so many new things that we're implementing to make sure that students are meeting expectations. Here are 2 of the ones that I created. We have this I Ready for Coke and Mentos explosion, where students will have to reach 100% in their lessons. They'll get to color it and put their names in it. I'm sure a lot of people have seen something like this. We also added table points, and I'm pretty surprised that this class didn't have it already before I came. I'm sure that the reason why they never had table points is because this school does individualized points like PBIS, where they get to buy their own prizes with the points that they earn. I think table points will work well with this group because they need to keep each other accountable, and I'm sure that hearing it from a friend to follow directions will sometimes work better than hearing it from the teacher a million times. This is what I got for the table winners. I brought it up in one of my other videos, but these are the smelly dots. It's a chapstick that smells like candy. So there's a Hershey's one, and there's Reese's, Twizzlers, a bunch of other options. I'm pretty sure you can buy these at like Five Below too, so it's super cheap and super worth it. Here are the stickers that I bought from Amazon that students love. I actually bought these when I was a substitute teacher, and it worked really well with classroom management. Bought those black scratchers where if you scratch it off, there's a rainbow underneath, because we have a lot of artists in our class. The random ball is supposed to be like that special prize. I'm really excited to see who wins this week for table points because I want to see them try to figure out the crane. I find it so funny that I have to do a sign-in sheet or sign-up sheet for the dice.
Get them all back?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Tomorrow is the start of my literacy edTPA lessons, and let me show you everything that I have. So I'm teaching opinion writing, and of course I had to make an Oreo poster. Tomorrow we're working on the intro, so because opinions are supported by facts, I had to make a fact versus opinion chart. I have their circle map right here. Oh no, I messed it up. One of my favorite things I made were these graphic organizers. So I have my introduction. I have the body paragraph. Let me show you what it looks like. It looks like this. So why I love it so much is that this has a black border because it's supposed to look like an Oreo cookie. And the body paragraphs will be the staffing, and I have the conclusion that also looks like this. I also have these big old posters with sentence frames and, oh no, and my hook anchor chart with boring and interesting examples. Yesterday's math exploded into this. We had to kind of go over this because we had 3 kids absent, and then we did a lot of extra problems using word problems. Afterwards, I sent them off to do this worksheet, which is the formative assessment for my edTPA. One of my students was eating hot Cheetos while in line. When I first came to Student Teach, I said that I really like spicy chips, and I was joking around and saying, "What, you have spicy chips and you're eating it in front of my face?" And then he just tossed me one. My desk is a mess. Look at this. I have my edTPA for literacy right when students come back, so about 5 more minutes. And I feel like I'm scrambling, even though I set everything up yesterday. I think I'm just not mentally prepared for it. This is my hook anchor chart. I always like to cover each section up so that I can move on to the next with them, and it doesn't look so overwhelming. It's only been 1 day, but look at how much this changed our lives. I did a lesson on the introduction of my opinion writing, and I'm not going to lie, it kind of went bad because the students were overly excited about the topic, which is what's the best animal to have as a pet. They just kept talking over each other, and I know it's the 2nd day back, so I kind of understand why they're very chatty, but at the same time, I want to get through my lesson and I want to get this done, and I want them to have everything done. A lot of students had trouble choosing an animal. Some of them even took 20 minutes just to choose an animal, let alone having to write down reasons and opinions why that animal is the best. So that hour was pretty rough. My host teacher was nice enough to discard the rest of our schedule and let the students who never finished their introduction to keep going for another hour. And that alone is pretty much saving me for tomorrow, because tomorrow is what I'm planning to actually send as the recording. It's going to be the 3 body paragraphs, which is way more work than what we did today, but I'm glad I got the introduction out of the way. Tomorrow I'm probably going to cut some stuff out of my lesson plan so that we can fit everything, especially knowing that these kids take a long time to process, which is a good thing, but some of them have such a hard time processing that they get distracted immediately. Now I have another giant pile of mess on my desk. Look at this, it's terrible. And look at the student getting distracted. I feel like I have so much to do, but I'm also just pacing back and forth the room trying to figure out, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? What else is there? Moving stuff around. My brain is a mess. Let's see what goodies she has. Smelly pencil. I don't want to smell one. I think for the small ones, I'm going to change it out. So instead of having 3 smelly dots, I'll probably change it to like eraser, smelly pencil, or just pencil. That way they have something that they can keep rather than a smelly dot on their hand for a day. Obviously, the big prizes will be that random prize. I literally have to set up pieces of tape because during my lesson today, one of the posters kept falling the entire time because the tape wasn't long enough to support it and there weren't enough pieces, and it was super distracting for the kids because they would be like, "Miss Jen, it's falling." I have an hour until my cohort starts, so I'm just going to get a lot of things done in the meantime. But dude, I forgot to bring home the students' introduction paragraphs. I was planning to group them out so that they can collaborate and talk about their animals that they chose, but I was going to make each group kind of similar, like either one would be all the same, like dogs, or another one would be reptiles. I'll just come in 6:30 in the morning like I always do and get that done. Hopefully I remember, because it's very important to do. For the next hour, I'll probably just look at the students' formative assessments for math and see which students need help. For the math edTPA, I only need to analyze 3 students, so I'm going to look for those 3 and see how I can reteach them on Friday. I have to create this data chart about students' learning, and I'm basically looking at this evaluation criteria that I created to score the students' work and see who got it conceptually, who is procedurally fluent, and who uses mathematical reasoning to check their answers and understand the problem. This week has been so rough every single morning. It's been taking me longer to wake up, but every time I teach a lesson, I do feel more awake and more energized. But right now, I'm so tired and I want to go back to sleep. Today is day 2 of my literacy edTPA lessons, which is the most important because I'm planning to submit the recordings for it within today's session. Honestly, if it doesn't go well today, I don't know what to do because yesterday's recordings... Some of them go to the garden and they gave me little flowers. There was this student who's been absent this entire week, but he came today, and oh my goodness, I am so grateful that he was here because he definitely made a huge difference in my lesson and how it went. He was the one that was always raising his hand and participating, and I love it because he has such a big growth mindset. It was so great because he's one of those kids that isn't that afraid of getting things wrong, which gave me the perfect opportunity to extend his learning within the lesson. When he was supposed to give me evidence, which is a fact to support his opinion, his evidence was an opinion, and I made him think, how can we change that opinion into a fact? I gave him some think time and I was asking him questions to facilitate his thoughts. And when I went back to him, he was able to fix his answer, and I think that's like the perfect way to show that I can make students reflect on their own mistakes and learn from it. I'm done! I think today went really well. A lot of them were focusing. Table points really helped with that, to be honest. I'm relieved that I think I can find a 20-minute section that covers good teaching and good student responses. I'm feeling really good right now. This week feels extra long, even though it was the shortest week we had since Monday was a PD day. Today I'm going to do my re-engagement lesson for the math edTPA and my last day for the literacy one. I don't know how I'm going to analyze the essays because a lot of them didn't finish their body paragraphs yesterday. I'm probably just going to choose a student who did really well and finished it, a student who did okay and kind of missed a few parts or a paragraph, and then I don't know about the last one. The lesson for conclusions was okay. The only thing that was bad was that some of the students just weren't working, which is not new in my class, but this is how everything turned out. Since it's Oreo opinion writing, the idea or the vision was so that it would look like an Oreo by the end of it. See the little crust and then stuffing and the last piece of crust. I have to grade all of these papers this weekend. I'm just gonna organize all of this so that it can look more appealing next week when I open it.